Hey everyone, I'm just going to make a quick video on how to bring this disc player model from Poliigon into Lumion. Now, the reason why I chose this one is that it actually uses, well, for the most part, it uses an emissive mask, but that emissive mask is not actually included when you get the model. So if you wanted to make it look as good as possible into Lumion, you do have to do a little bit of Photoshop work. Unlike the other ones, you don't have to do any stuff with Blender, just because in this case, it actually won't add anything to it. So we're just going to completely ignore Blender. All you need to do is import it into Lumion, and then we just need to play around with the masks in Photoshop. When you're downloading it, normally I would say download Blender, but for this one, it doesn't actually matter. But I do think it is good practice to change that to Blender every time, just because you get typically better maps for Lumion. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up Photoshop to start. I've already downloaded the disc player and put it onto my desktop. So yeah, for this one, we can just use generic. It's fine. This one does come with a color map, but as you can see, there's kind of like a lot of black area here, and that's actually not supposed to be there, because if we look at the reflection, we're supposed to have this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the reflection map in. We're going to unlock it, and then we're going to grab all this gray area here, and we're just going to delete it. And then what we can do is we can take the disc player, we can drag it right here, pull this up a layer, and then as you can see, we've replaced a lot of the parts that shouldn't be there. So we kind of combine the two. Even though it was called a color map, now you have the actual color map where you're combining all the information that the reflection map would have in something like 3ds Max, because it uses a different workflow, and you're also combining the color, I guess the diffuse map, and now you have an actual color map that Lumion can read much better. You do lose, like by doing it like this, you do lose some of the colors here. Personally, I don't think it's worth the time to kind of try and fix that, because this is in the back and you get the majority of it. So if we're just going for speed, that would work. But if you are really worried about it, you can just come in here and you can just go like this. We'll just quickly click these off. And like I said, that should be fine. Actually, we'll click this too. Okay, so yeah, you can just do little things like that. So we are going to go and we're going to export this now, and we're going to call this one just color and generic. Okay, cool. So color. So that one's done, but we still need the emissive mask. Now this one is a lot quicker to make, and I'll show you the way that I do it. So you want the color map here because this is the area that we want. So I like to click, just unlock it here. So you want to click on this because this will go around all of the white parts here, and then you're going to delete it. So if we zoom in on this, as you can see, we still have all these cut out, all these pixels here. So we've kind of separated that out, and now that's going to be the part that is emissive. We just need to do a little cleanup here. And I'll just take the selection, going to drag it down here. You want to just pull this basically so that you're right past these two lines here, but you haven't gotten rid of this green light, because that's going to be like on the console. We delete that out so we have this whole area, and then we're going to grab another area here, and then we're going to grab this part, and we're going to grab this part. So then what you should be left with is this. Now you can just make a blank canvas and make it black. This is just the way I do it because I found it was faster. Like you can just drag this in, and if you go to the paintbrush, click it, it says you must rasterize the smart object. Okay, sure. You're going to click on this one, make sure that it's selected as black, and then you just go like this. You're going to make the whole thing. You can get rid of this part here because we still have the other layer. And so then what you're left with is this. So everything that is black in this picture, no matter how high the emissive slider goes in Lumion, it cannot make this emissive. So then as we turn it up, this part will get brighter, but this part will not. So we'll export this again. Emissive. Okay, so the maps are set up, but now we just need to make the actual masks to bring into Lumion. And this will use the good color. I'm actually just going to delete this one so we don't get confused with it. So we're going to drag in the color map. We're going to drag in the emissive map. And now make sure that when you're dragging it in, you're putting it in this area because it gives us its own tab, which is a lot easier to kind of sort through. And the gloss the normal map. So first thing we're going to do is click on the emissive. Control A, Control X, so you cut the whole map. To go back to color, you're going to go to channels, alpha, and then you hit Control V because it's selected here. So as you can see, that's now in there. Turn that on. Everything that's red is not emissive, which makes sense because as we looked at it before, the whole black area shouldn't be emissive. So everything, all this color in here, like this, the labels on the back and stuff, that's basically being mapped out of the emissive slider. So we're going to save this as a targa file. And this is in the correct folder. We just don't have any other targas in there, so it won't say anything. And we're going to go to save. Now, it'll say this is almost always checked, but just make sure that it is 32 bits because if it's not, this won't work. It'll cut out the alpha channel, and then you're basically just left with the color map. So, yeah, we'll close these two out because these are done. Now, we're going to take this gloss map, and we're going to put it into the normal map, but there is one thing we have to do first. This, as you can see, is like it says gray. It doesn't say blue, green, and red. So we're going to go up to image. We're going to go to mode, and we're going to make it RGB color. Okay, now all those are there. We're going to hit Control A, Control X to cut it. Go to normal, and we're going to add in the alpha channel here. And then we're going to hit Control V. And now this is what this is telling it is that I believe it's the more red something is, the less glossy it is. Lumion can actually use the gloss maps. It just needs to be inside of the normal map to work properly. So now that that's done, we're going to save it again as a targa. This one we'll just call it normal mask, I guess. And then 32 bits. Okay, so I'll minimize this out. Get out of this. Now, I have Lumion open. I normally use Villa Cabrera for this just because I think it's a really good example house. We're going to go to import, desktop. We're just going to find the disc player, generic. And you want to pick the first one because if we go into the properties here, as you can see, this is the FBX. I just find the FBX works a lot better. The OBJ files always get messed up. Most of the time when we bring the Lumion, it gets messed up because I think it uses a different scale. So Lumion basically reads it as being like 100 times bigger than it is. So FBX always works though. And we're just going to drop that on the table. We're going to go to materials, go to standard, use the color map. Now we can put our targas in. So when you click this, what should happen is you should see everything is invisible except kind of like the logos. The reason being is because right now it's actually set to color map alpha clips the object. So everything that was black on our emissive will not show up because it's the full amount that Lumion can take it away. So it's just invisible. But if we take it to color map masks emissiveness, then as you can see, it's not perfect, but it works. We're going to take the colorization all the way down. And then if we just delete the normal map, you can see that this came in a lot better already. And if you increase the slider, as you can see, at the maximum emissiveness that Lumion can have, the rest of the DVD player does not change. So you can probably keep it around like here. If you turn it up too far, it actually starts to lose its color. So I feel like at like 1.3, something like that, maybe like we'll just do 1 because that's easy. If you turn it up to 1, then everything is emissive now. So we'll be able to see it in the dark, but we'll just throw the other maps on just so that it looks good. Maybe just turn the reflectivity down a little bit. And that should be good to go. So if we look at if we take we just turn the sun down, as you can see that is now emissive. So we'll set up a little render for it. Get rid of the sky and clouds and the sun. And I'm going to put in real skies for this just to make it nighttime. Just to, clean the scene up a little bit. And I'll turn this down. And then, so more or less, that is it. The advantage of doing this is that you can kind of, if you were in a room at night and you're doing like a nighttime scene, whenever you're going through a house at night, there are always these like little lights that are on. Maybe it's just like the DVD player, or maybe it's just like a night light, like a hallway light, I mean. So these can kind of add a little bit of realism to the scene, because if you make it pitch black, let's see if this works with me here. I know if you change it to this one, it should work. Yeah, so if it's pitch black, as you can see, this emissiveness actually will show up with the, I think it's because of the speed ray reflections in Lumion. And then, yeah, it does add a little bit of realism. So if it was like sitting on a glass table at night, you'd actually be able to see that like little reflection. And I think it's really cool. The emissive map, these are the only things that you really get a chance to use it with, because I find that like with light bulbs and stuff, it doesn't actually work as well as it should. I find it just almost always better to use it like this. But as you can see, if you kind of make your own emissive map, it's not perfect, but it's definitely good enough to kind of fool people. Like if you turn it down a little bit too, maybe that was a little bit too high where I had it. So maybe just make it so it's just before 0.1. And then maybe that's a little bit better, but you kind of get the point. You can play around with it to see whatever works best. And I think it's a really cool trick just to be able to use the emissive maps. So I hope you guys found that interesting. I do have 2 videos coming out in the next couple of days, I think. One of them is going to be looking at flicker reduction and how you can remove a lot of the flickering from your scenes. It is a fairly easy trick, but I think it's something that people could really learn a lot from, since that's probably the biggest mistake that I see in a lot of renders, is that there's a ton of flickering, and it's very easy flickering to fix. So we'll look at that. And then the video after that, I'm actually going to show how to do surface imperfections on things like hardwood floor, metal, and windows. I actually wanted to release that as my next video, but I figured that I may as well release the flicker reduction one first, since the I'll just release the flicker reduction first, since it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're doing with the surface imperfection. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for checking out the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.